Welcome back. This channel exists because of your support. Subscribe, hit like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's get into the story. I pulled into the parking garage around 6:45. Same spot I always took, third level near the stairwell. Today I turned 41 years old. Not a milestone birthday, just another year. The facility needed extra coverage for the evening shift, so I'd picked up overtime. 10 hours on my feet checking electrical panels and running diagnostics on the main distribution system. My back ached. My steel toes felt like they weighed 10 pounds each. I wasn't expecting much when I got home. Maybe we'd order pizza from that place on Del Mar. Maybe I'd grab a beer from the fridge and watch whatever game was on. That would have been fine. Perfect, actually. After 10 hours of work, I didn't need anything fancy. Stephanie had texted me earlier in the afternoon. Don't be late tonight. Have something planned. I'd figured she'd picked up takeout from somewhere nice. Maybe she'd baked something. A cake from a box mix, nothing elaborate. We'd been married for years. Birthdays had settled into a comfortable routine. Low-key, just the two of us. The elevator took me to the 4th floor. Our condo was at the end of the hallway, unit 412. I could hear voices through the door before I even got my keys out. Multiple voices. Music playing, something upbeat with a lot of bass. Laughter, the kind that sounds performative. Like people laughing because they're supposed to, not because something's actually funny. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Then I stopped. 7 women sat around our dining table. Every chair filled. Wine glasses everywhere, some empty, some half full. The table was covered with charcuterie boards. The expensive kind with prosciutto and aged cheeses and those little cornicons Stephanie always bought from Whole Foods. 3 empty Prosecco bottles lined the kitchen counter. 2 more bottles sat open on the table, labels facing out. I recognized the brand. $28 a bottle. I'd seen those charges come through on the credit card. Stephanie sat near the head of the table, positioned like she was about to give a presentation. She wore a new outfit I hadn't seen before. Matching athletic set. Lululemon, based on the logo. Pale purple, form-fitting. I remembered seeing the charge last week when I paid the credit card bill. $180 for yoga pants and a sports bra. She had that smile on her face. The one she used when taking photos for Instagram. Wide but not quite reaching her eyes. Professional. Performed. The other women all turned to look at me at the same time, like they'd rehearsed it. They had that same expression. Knowing. Anticipatory. Like they were all in on something I wasn't. Like they'd been waiting for me to arrive so the real show could start. I recognized most of their faces from Stephanie's social media. She posted about her wellness tribe regularly. Alexis Brennan sat at the head of the table in the spot where I usually sat when we had dinner. She owned a boutique fitness studio in Clayton. Seemed to be the ringleader of this particular group. Next to her was Meredith Walsh. Recently divorced, about 6 months ago. I'd heard Stephanie on the phone with her multiple times, talking about Meredith's controlling ex-husband. Then there was Olivia Kent, quieter than the others, watching everything with careful eyes. Jessica Pierce sat next to Alexis, leaning in close like they were co-conspirators. Nicole Ramsey had her phone out, angled toward the center of the room. Recording, probably. She did that wellness influencer thing on Instagram. Kimberly Foster had been Stephanie's friend the longest, going back to college. 15 years. And Amanda Brooks, who I'd only seen in photos a handful of times. Newest addition to the group. Hey, I said finally, setting my keys down on the entry table next to a wine glass someone had abandoned there. Didn't know we had company tonight. Stephanie stood up, smoothing down her outfit, pulling at the hem of her sports bra, even though it was already sitting perfectly. She stood straighter, chin up, shoulders back, like she was about to deliver a keynote speech. Surprise, she said, but the word came out sharp instead of celebratory. We're having a little gathering. For your birthday. The way she said it, the emphasis on your birthday, made it clear this gathering wasn't actually about me. This was theater. I was just the prop. So, Rob, she continued, projecting her voice now so everyone could hear clearly. We need to talk about some changes. I've been thinking a lot about our relationship lately. About accountability. About growth. About what it means to be partners. She picked up a piece of cardstock from the table. Not regular printer paper. Cardstock. She'd gone to the store, bought cardstock, and printed this out. Formatted it. Made it official. I'm laying down some ground rules, she announced. Ground rules for moving forward in this marriage. The women at the table leaned in. Alexis had her hands folded in front of her like a therapist getting ready to take notes. Meredith was nodding before Stephanie even said anything. Jessica had this eager expression, like she was watching her favorite show. Stephanie cleared her throat and began reading from her card. Rule number 1. Moving forward, you need to check in with me before making any plans with your friends. I need to know where you are, who you're with, what time you'll be home. This is about transparency and trust. She paused. Let that sink in. Rule number 2. You need to be more present emotionally. That means daily check-ins about my feelings and my needs. Not just surface-level conversations. Real emotional intimacy. Another pause. I could see Nicole adjusting her phone to make sure she was getting all of this on video. Rule number 3. We need to redistribute household labor more equitably. I shouldn't have to ask you to do things. You should just know what needs to be done and do it. Jessica nodded enthusiastically. Boundaries are so important, she said to the table. Emotional boundaries, physical boundaries, financial boundaries. Stephanie smiled at her, encouraged. Rule number 4. Financial decisions need to be joint decisions from now on. No more unilateral control over our money. We need to make choices together, as equals. I almost laughed at that one. Actually had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from reacting. And rule number 5, Stephanie concluded, looking directly at me now. You need to respect my friendships and stop making me feel guilty about my social time. These women are my support system, my community, and I need you to honor that. She set the card down on the table with a definitive tap, like a judge with a gavel. That's when Alexis started clapping. Slow at first, deliberate, then faster. Within 3 seconds, the entire table had joined in. 7 women applauding like Stephanie had just given a TED talk about empowerment and boundaries and taking control of your life. My husband needed this talk too, Meredith said. Before the divorce. Men just don't get it unless you're direct, someone else added. I looked at each face. The smug expressions. The absolute certainty that they were right and I was wrong. Stephanie was glowing, feeding off their validation. So, she said, crossing her arms. What do you think? Are you ready to be the partner I deserve? I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a beer from the fridge. Boulevard Wheat. Took a long drink, then set it down on the counter and smiled. I think, I said slowly, that I need to get something from my office. Give me 5 minutes. The room got quieter. Stephanie's smile faltered. What? That's your response? 5 minutes, I repeated. Then I'll have my own announcement. I walked down the hallway. Behind me, I heard confused murmuring. Someone asked Stephanie what I was talking about. She said she didn't know, but her voice had lost some of that confidence. In my office, I opened the file cabinet. Bottom drawer. The manila folder was exactly where I'd left it 6 days ago when I'd finished organizing everything. Bank statements, credit card bills, text message screenshots, receipts, all of it highlighted, tabbed, chronological. I'd been putting this together for 4 months, ever since I noticed the charges and the meetings and the stories that didn't quite match reality. I hadn't planned on doing this tonight, but Stephanie had made her choice. She wanted to humiliate me in front of her friends, turn my birthday into some performance about putting me in my place. Fine, I could work with that. I grabbed the folder and walked back to the living room. All eyes turned to me as I sat down on the couch. Folder in my lap. All right, I said, looking directly at Stephanie. Let's talk about rules and accountability. I think everyone here deserves to know the truth. Stephanie's face went pale. What are you doing? I opened the folder. Just making my announcement, like I promised. The room was completely silent now. No more smirking. Just tension. I pulled out the first document. Bank statement from December, highlighted in yellow where it mattered. Stephanie mentioned I need to contribute more financially. Let's break that down. I held up the statement. December. My paycheck, $2,340 after taxes. Her paycheck, $680. Stop it, Stephanie said, standing up. This is private. You made it public when you announced your rules in front of your friends. I pulled out January's statement. January. My check, $2,340. Your check, $680. Then February's. February. Same amounts. 3 months. I earn about 3.5 times what you earn. I laid out the expense documentation. Mortgage on this condo is $1,175 a month. I pay it. My name on the deed. Bought this place in 2019 with money my grandmother left me. HOA fees, $245. Me. Utilities, $180 average. Me. Car insurance for both vehicles, $195. Me. Internet and streaming services, $140. Me. Groceries, about $600 a month. Me. Meredith was staring at her wine glass now. Jessica had stopped smiling. Stephanie tried again. I work hard for my money. You do, I agreed. 15 hours a week teaching yoga. You could work more, but you choose not to. I pulled out the credit card statements. December spending. Lululemon, $340. Athleta, $220. Spa treatments at the Four Seasons, $385. Sephora, $167. These are all charged to the card I pay off every month. Olivia was leaning forward now, reading the documents from across the table. January. Lululemon, $290. SoulCycle classes, $380. More spa treatments. February. Athleta, for $10. Skincare, $295. Brunch bills totaling $445. I looked up at the group. Average monthly balance I pay off, $2,100. So when she says I need to contribute more financially, what she means is I need to stop questioning why she's spending 3 times her income every month. Kimberly had her hand over her mouth. Amanda was looking between Stephanie and me like she was trying to figure out what was happening. This is humiliating, Stephanie said, her voice shaking. On your birthday. We're just getting started. I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots folder. About 5 months ago, I noticed you were going out a lot. Wednesday afternoons, Saturday mornings when I work overtime. You said it was networking, building professional connections. Stephanie's face drained of color. Networking is important, Alexis offered weakly. It is, I nodded. Except these weren't networking meetings. I held up my phone. Text messages between Stephanie and Craig Zimmerman, former personal training client. They've been meeting regularly for 5 months now. You went through my phone, Stephanie shouted. Your phone was on the kitchen counter. A message popped up on the screen while you were in the shower. I didn't have to go through anything. I showed the first screenshot to the room. October 20th. Craig to Stephanie. Great catching up today. Same time next week. Stephanie's response. Yes. Wednesday afternoons work perfectly. Rob works late those days. I laid out receipts on the coffee table, one by one. Panera Bread on Del Mar. 14 visits between October and February. Average charge, $28. Starbucks in Clayton. 8 visits. Average, $18. The Fountain on Locust for brunch. 3 visits on Saturday mornings. $67, $73, and $82. I looked at Stephanie. All charged to the credit card that I pay off every month. I was funding your dates. They weren't dates, Stephanie insisted, but her voice cracked. Craig is a business contact. We talk about opportunities. Let's see what you told him about me then. I pulled up more screenshots. December 5th. You to Craig. Rob just doesn't get what I'm trying to build. He sees everything through this narrow lens of dollars and cents. I scrolled down. December 19th. Talking to you makes me feel understood in a way I haven't felt in years. January 8th. He's always so logical. Sometimes I just need someone who understands passion. February 14th. Valentine's Day. Dinner with Rob was fine, but I kept thinking about our conversation yesterday. The silence in the room was suffocating. February 28th. I continued. Craig to Stephanie. My divorce was finalized yesterday. I'm finally free. Just wanted you to know. Stephanie's response. I'm so happy for you. You deserve better. Craig. So do you. Stephanie sent a heart emoji. Olivia stood up suddenly, grabbing her purse. I'm sorry. I thought we were helping you. We didn't know any of this. Stephanie reached for her. Olivia, wait. No. You lied to us. Olivia walked to the door and left. I pulled out Facebook screenshots. Group chat messages. For the past year, Stephanie's been telling you all stories. Her version of our marriage. To you, I'm the villain. The controlling husband who doesn't appreciate her, doesn't support her dreams, won't let her have independence. I looked around the table. But none of you knew I pay 80% of our bills. None of you knew she works part-time by choice. None of you knew she's been meeting Craig on my dime while telling me she's networking. Meredith spoke up quietly. She told us you were financially controlling, that you questioned every purchase. I asked her once why we were spending $280 a month at Starbucks when we have a coffee maker at home. That became me being controlling. I suggested we split grocery costs more evenly. That became me being cheap. Jessica stood up. I need to leave. This is not what I thought this was. You were so enthusiastic about her rules 10 minutes ago, I said. I want you to hear the rest. She hesitated, caught between the door and the table. Last July, I continued, Stephanie told you I refused to go to couples counseling, right? Meredith nodded slowly. I showed them a text exchange. July 16th, me to Stephanie. I found a therapist. Dr. Richardson on Clayton Road. Good reviews. Want to try it? Her response, I don't think we need that yet. August 3rd, me again. Still interested in counseling? Her response, maybe later. I'm busy with the new class schedule. Meredith grabbed her jacket. I'm leaving. I'm sorry. Jessica followed her out. Then Nicole, who'd been recording earlier but had put her phone away. Then Amanda, who barely said anything except, I'm sorry for participating. Kimberly was crying now. She'd known Stephanie the longest. 15 years. Steph, Kimberly said quietly. Did you lie about all of this? Stephanie couldn't answer. She just stood there with tears running down her face. I've been defending you to my husband for months, Kimberly said. He said something didn't add up. I told him he didn't understand. She looked at me. I'm so sorry. She left too. Only Alexis remained, still trying to maintain some authority over the situation. Rob, I think you're being unnecessarily cruel, she said. I'm being factual. You could have had this conversation privately. Like she had her ground rules conversation privately? She chose the audience. I just provided the facts. Alexis stood up. You should have been honest with us, Stephanie. Then she left too. 7 women gone in 20 minutes. Stephanie collapsed back into her chair, surrounded by wine glasses and charcuterie boards and the printed ground rules that nobody cared about anymore. You destroyed my entire support system, she said. I have one more announcement. I pulled out the last document. Consultation summary from my attorney. I met with him last Friday. Divorce papers will be filed Monday morning. You'll be served Tuesday. What? This condo is mine. Purchased with inheritance money before we got married. My name on the deed. You'll need to find somewhere else to stay within 30 days. Her face crumpled. We can fix this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I don't want to fix it. I closed the folder and stood up. I've been sleeping in the guest room for a week. Moved my clothes there last Tuesday. You didn't notice. I've been preparing for this conversation for 6 days. I picked up my folder and walked toward the hallway. I'll be in the guest room. You can stay in the master for now. We'll work out details through attorneys. I closed the door behind me, sat on the edge of the bed, felt nothing except relief. Through the door, I could hear her crying, making phone calls, her voice rising and falling. I opened my laptop and started looking at one-bedroom apartments. Backup plan, in case things got complicated. I fell asleep around midnight. Best sleep I'd had in months. The next morning, I woke up to 22 missed calls and 41 text messages from Stephanie, all sent between 11 p.m. and 2 in the morning. I scrolled through the notifications without opening them. Didn't read a single one. I already knew what they'd say. Apologies mixed with accusations. Promises to change mixed with threats about what her attorney would do. The cycle I'd seen play out 100 times over 8 years, just never quite this extreme. I got ready for work quietly. Showered, dressed, made coffee in the kitchen while Stephanie's bedroom door stayed closed. I could hear her breathing on the other side. Awake, but not coming out. Probably waiting for me to knock. To initiate. To be the one who tried to fix things. I left at 7:30 without saying a word. Work was normal. Routine. I went through my checklist of electrical panels, ran diagnostics on the backup generator system, filed my reports. One of my coworkers, Dennis, noticed something different about me around lunchtime. You okay, man? He asked while we were sitting in the break room. You seem lighter or something. Yeah, I said. And meant it. Actually, yeah, I'm okay. He looked at me for a moment like he was trying to figure out if I was being sarcastic. Then he nodded and went back to his sandwich. Around noon, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stepped outside into the parking lot to take it. Robert. Not a question. A statement. Eleanor Patterson. Stephanie's mother. What is this nonsense Stephanie is telling me? If she told you we're getting divorced, Mrs. Patterson, it's not nonsense. She said you humiliated her. In front of all her friends. On your birthday. She announced ground rules for our marriage at my birthday party. In front of those same friends. I simply provided some context about our actual financial situation. You need to work this out. Marriage is hard work. You can't just give up when things get difficult. Marriage requires mutual respect, I said calmly. We don't have that. We haven't had it for a long time. Maybe we never did. She's my daughter, and she's been lying to you about me, just like she lied to her friends. If you want the truth, Mrs. Patterson, ask to see our bank statements. Ask to see the credit card bills I've been paying. Ask her about Craig Zimmerman. Silence on the other end. Then who? Ask her, I said. I'm sure she'll have a version of that story too. She hung up. At 2:15, my phone rang again. This time, it was someone from the property management company. Hello, Mr. Mitchell. This is Marissa from the Laurel Apartments. I'm calling because your wife contacted us this morning about breaking the lease early. She wanted to know about penalties and timelines. I closed my eyes. Of course she did. The condo isn't leased, Marissa. I own it. I purchased it in 2019. It's not a rental property. Oh, a pause. She indicated it was a rental and that she was listed on the lease agreement. She's not. My name only. On the deed, on the mortgage, on every piece of paperwork associated with that property. She has no authority to make any decisions about it. I see. Thank you for clarifying. We'll make a note in our system. I hung up and stood there in the parking lot for a moment. Stephanie was already trying to pull the rug out from under me, trying to force my hand, make me the bad guy who was kicking her out onto the street. Except she had no leverage. The condo was mine. The money was mine. The evidence was documented and organized, and sitting in a file folder that my attorney now had copies of. At 4:30, James Whitaker called. Mr. Mitchell, just confirming our timeline. You want papers filed Monday morning? Yes. And the incident last night went as expected? She presented her ground rules. I presented my evidence. Her friends left. She's staying at her mother's house as of yesterday evening. Good. That establishes a clear timeline. She can't claim she was blindsided or that you didn't give her warning. The separation is already in progress. Papers will be filed at 9 a.m. Monday. Process server will deliver them to her mother's address Tuesday afternoon. What should I expect? She'll hire an attorney. They'll likely try to claim spousal support and potentially argue for a portion of the condo value. But based on the documentation you've provided, we have a strong position. The condo was purchased before the marriage with inheritance money. She has no legal claim to it. And given that she's chosen to work part-time while you've been covering the majority of expenses, any judge will see through a spousal support request pretty quickly. How long will this take? If she contests, maybe 3 months to a final settlement. If she accepts reality and negotiates reasonably, we could have this wrapped up in 6 weeks. Thank you. I hung up and finished out my shift. Drove home around 6:30. The parking garage was quieter than usual. Stephanie's car wasn't in her spot. Good. When I opened the door to the condo, I could see she'd been back at some point during the day. Half the wine glasses from the party had been cleaned and put away. The other half still sat on the dining table, lipstick marks on the rims. The charcuterie boards had been wrapped and put in the refrigerator. But the apartment felt hollow, empty in a way that had nothing to do with furniture. I walked down the hallway to the master bedroom. The door was open, clothes pulled from the closet, hangers scattered on the floor. Her dresser drawers hung open, half empty. Her suitcases were gone. So was her toiletry bag from the bathroom. She'd packed quickly, grabbed what she needed for a few days, and left. On the kitchen counter, there was a note, written on the back of an envelope in her handwriting. Staying at my mom's. We'll talk when you're ready to be reasonable. This doesn't have to be this way. I read it twice. Then I crumpled it up and dropped it in the trash. I ordered pizza from Pie Pizzeria. Large, half pepperoni, half mushroom. Ate 3 slices standing up in the kitchen while I watched the Cardinals game on my phone. Then I spent an hour cleaning up the rest of the party debris. Threw away the crumpled ground rules I found on the counter. Washed all the wine glasses. Wiped down the dining table. Put the leftover cheese in the refrigerator even though I knew I wouldn't eat it. By 9 p.m., the condo looked normal again. Like the party had never happened. I moved my stuff back into the master bedroom. My clothes back in the closet. My phone charger back on the nightstand. My pillow back on the left side of the bed where I'd always slept. That night, I got the best sleep I'd had in months. Maybe years. Saturday morning, my phone buzzed at 8:30. Text message from a number I didn't recognize. Rob, this is Olivia Kent from Thursday night. I know this is probably strange, but would you be willing to meet for coffee? I owe you an apology. A real one. I stared at the message for a full minute. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Cut ties with everyone connected to Stephanie. Start completely fresh. But another part was curious. Why was Olivia reaching out? What did she want to say? I texted back. Sure. Where? Caldi's on Skinker, 9:30. I'll be there. I got dressed, drove to Caldi's, arrived at 9:25. I spotted Olivia already sitting in a corner booth near the windows, coffee in front of her. I ordered an Ethiopian roast, black. No sugar, no cream. Paid, then walked over and sat down across from her. Thank you for coming, she said immediately. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying or hadn't slept well. I wasn't sure you would. After Thursday night, I wouldn't have blamed you for blocking all of us and never thinking about any of this again. I'm here, I said simply. She wrapped both hands around her coffee mug, stared down at it for a moment, then looked up at me. I need to apologize. I need to say this clearly. What happened Thursday night was horrifying, but not because of your response, because of our participation, because we enabled Stephanie, because we believed her version of events without ever questioning whether there might be another side to the story. You didn't know, I said. That's not an excuse. She pulled out her phone. Last night, after I got home, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything you showed us. The bank statements, the receipts, the text messages. So I went through our group chat. All of it. From October of last year until now. She turned her phone toward me, started scrolling. Every story Stephanie told us about you. Every complaint. Every example of you being controlling or unsupportive or emotionally unavailable. I read through all of it with fresh eyes. The messages filled the screen. Dozens of them. Hundreds probably. Meredith walked in then. Saw us, hesitated, then joined. I'm so sorry, she said. My ex-husband was genuinely controlling. Financial abuse, isolation. When Stephanie talked about you questioning expenses, working long hours, it sounded like my ex. I was primed to see patterns that weren't there. Kimberly arrived next. Eyes red. I've known Stephanie 15 years. I thought I knew her. She called me last night. Said you blindsided her. I asked her directly if she lied about the financial stuff. She said, it's more complicated than that. Which means yes. We talked for an hour. They showed me more texts, more stories Stephanie had told that didn't match reality. How she'd said I refused to let her take business courses. How she'd claimed I said her yoga teaching didn't count as real work. None of it true. My phone rang. Unknown number. I stepped outside. Is this Rob Mitchell? Who's this? Craig Zimmerman. Look, Stephanie called me last night. Hysterical. I didn't know you weren't aware of our meetings. She said you two had an understanding. That the marriage was basically over. We weren't separated. We weren't even arguing regularly. Silence. Oh God. I'm cutting contact completely. This is too messy. I've got kids. Good call. I hung up. Back inside, I told them about Craig's call. So she told him you two were basically done? Olivia asked. While living in my condo, using my money, and presenting ground rules for our marriage. We wrapped up the conversation. All three of them offered to be character witnesses if needed. I thanked them and left. The legal process moved fast. Papers filed Monday. Stephanie served Tuesday at her mother's house. Wednesday, her attorney called mine. She was requesting spousal support and claiming half the condo value. My attorney had the documentation ready. Condo purchased before marriage with inheritance money. Stephanie's voluntary part-time status. Text messages showing I'd supported her choices. Receipt trail of the Craig meetings. Stephanie's attorney proposed $8,000 buyout. We countered with zero. Went back and forth. Finally settled on $1,000 just to close it. I paid it April 10th. Moving day was April 15th. I spent it at the City Museum and then the brewery tour. Came home at 6 to find the condo half empty. Her couch, her dining table, her bedroom furniture. All gone. I ordered tacos from Mission Taco Joint. Sat on the floor eating. Looked around at all the space. Mine now. Really mine. Over the next months, I rebuilt. Bought a couch I actually liked. Reconnected with an old friend. Joined a basketball league. Bought a guitar I'd wanted for years. Repainted the master bedroom dark blue. September 14th came around. 6 months later. Week of my 42nd birthday. I had 4 friends over. Pizza from Pie Pizzeria. Beer from Urban Chestnut. Cardinals game on. No speeches. No announcements. Just normal conversation with people who actually knew me. One of them asked how long I'd lived here. 5 years. Bought it in 2019. Nice place. Yeah, it is. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Could have been Stephanie. Could have been spam. Didn't matter. I blocked it without checking. Went back to the conversation. Later, after everyone left, I cleaned up. Washed the dishes, sorted the recycling. Looked around the condo. My furniture. My color on the walls. My space organized my way. Thought about last year's birthday. 7 women judging me. Ground rules on cardstock. Humiliation intended. Then thought about tonight. For friends. Pizza and beer and baseball. No performance required. 42 years old. Divorced. Starting over. And genuinely content. Not happy in some explosive way. Just content. Which was more than I'd had in years. I turned off the lights and headed to bed. My choice of paint. My choice of furniture. Happy birthday to me. This time it felt true. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.